We should, right, we're recording. Rabbi, off you go.
Thank you very much, Jim. Hello and welcome to the Academic Integrity webinar. Please note that this is being recorded and will be made available on South Bank Students Union YouTube channels and Facebook page for public viewing. So please keep your cameras turned off if you do not wish to be seen. Also, please keep your mics on mute if you are not the one talking. So I'm Amdi Rabi. I'm your Vice President of Education and Deputy President of the Students' Union. And the Students' Union, so before we start, I would like to give an overview of what a Student Union is, as we have got so many new students, first-year students here. So the Students' Union is here. Students' Union is run by students for students. We are led by 4 elected full-time student officers like me. The student officers are here to listen to, respond and act upon the needs of students at London South Bank University. So be sure to get in touch with us if there is something you think needs to change. You can find our contact details at southbank.su, where you can also see everything the SU does to support your time as a student. Right now, the Students' Union has teamed up with London South Bank University and the National Union of Students to help students and staff understand the importance of having pride in your academic work and more about what happens when academic misconduct occurs. You're going to hear first today from Hilary J.B. Ababiu, Vice President of Education, Vice President of Higher Education at the National Union of Students, who will provide an overview of academic integrity and why it is important. After Hilary, we have Liz Newton, the head of the academic integrity team at LSBU, talking about the importance of students taking pride in the work they submit and why this is important from a university perspective. The Students' Union Advice Manager, Daniela Newsick, follows Liz to explain the support that the Academic Advice Service provides to students when they find themselves in a situation of academic university perspective, in a situation of academic misconduct. At the end of the hour, the Students' Union Academic Communities Coordinator will summarize and conclude the webinar to bring us to a close. Also, if you have got any questions, please feel free to type in the chat box. We'll try to answer them at the end of the session also. And also later on, you can raise any questions if you have got. So at the moment, I would like to invite, and I'm so delighted to have Hilary. So Hilary, please.
Is this working? Can you hear me? Yes? Okay, perfect. Everything is slow on my computer, but I think it's just the sheer amount of people that are excited and interested to be here this afternoon. And I just wanted to start off by saying it's an extreme privilege and an honor to be joining all of you this afternoon to speak about academic integrity and to speak about the important work that has been going on in this area over the past few years now. And so before I go into speaking about the work that has been done and the achievements that have been made now in this area, I did quickly want to give you an overview of what academic integrity actually is and what it's about, because I think you see the word sometimes and it can come across very, very confusing. So in a nutshell, academic integrity is the ability for students to be able to engage with their assessments, with their learning, without using the services of external bodies to do that work for them. And so the way we maintain academic integrity is by making sure that essay mills or contract cheating, who are companies and organizations and people who would write essays and do exams for students, and we prevent them from doing that, and we support students in being able to be confident to reflect their teaching, their learning, what they do at university back by themselves confidently, and without the use of services that are not allowed. Sorry. And so this has been going on for many years now, way beyond my time at NUS. And there have been so many people working towards making sure that contract cheating services and essay mills are banned, but also what is more important in this conversation, about how you as students are supported to be able to maintain academic integrity and maintain the support that you need to be able to engage with your teaching and learning in a way that is authentic and holds integrity for you as students being a part of that journey and doing that work yourselves. So I'm going to take you back to maybe 2 or 3 years before my time at NUS, where people were starting to speak about academic integrity, contract cheating, or essay mills. And this was quite a prevalent issue because we were seeing, and I know many of you might have encountered them before, we were seeing all of these companies and organizations approaching students for either, essay writing services or claiming to give some sort of study skill support to students for their assessments, for their exams, for their assignments that they had been given by their universities. And this obviously got picked up by universities, and we as NUS, the National Union of Students, picked this up and started to dig deeper into, first of all, why we were seeing these services pop up more and more across the university scene, but also why they were targeting students that were particularly vulnerable in our university community. And so what we found really early on in that time was that the students that were most vulnerable to be targeted by these services offering help were students that were, first of all, in vulnerable situations, in not having enough resource or having the correct equipment to be able to engage with their learning fully. We saw that international students were disproportionately targeted by these services to try and sort of support them in getting into universities in the UK and worldwide. And then finally, we saw that these services were also targeting students that they perceived to be, struggling or outliers in their university community, and so were not being able to access support and help as much as other students were able to. And so what was really interesting for us is once we dug deep and we saw that they were targeting particular types of students, we then dug deep into their tactics and the ways that they were trying to get students to not only use their services, but to not admit that they need the support and help from their universities that they weren't getting, that were leading them to using these services. And so what we saw was a much more sinister and actually scary tactic that these services were using, which were around not only offering these services out of perceived goodwill, but what we were seeing was after offering these services, many of these essay mills or contract cheating services would blackmail students and threaten that they would tell their students' institutions that they had used an essay mill by charging them more money and basically extorting students to continue using their essay mill services or continue to pay them money so they won't be exposed and punished by their institution. Not only that, they were also holding it against students in a long-term way, where not only would they blackmail or threaten students around telling their institution, they would also do that post-graduation around the jobs and the employers that students would then go into. And so you can imagine the disastrous effects that was having not only on the student body, but widely on graduates and those that are in workplaces. And so this piece of work that we've been doing for years now has been really set on not only making sure, I'll come back to if we have any time for questions, making sure that those services were banned, and actually they were the people that were being held to account for the actions that they were doing that were targeting vulnerable students and putting them in scary and threatening situations. But even more so, we were also looking to make sure that we were looking at what the causes of the problems that we could see students were going through that would lead them to go to essay mill services. And so before I go into those sort of causes, over the past year, the work on banning those SA mills and those contract cheating services has really ramped up. And it's one of those areas where we've really seen students be able to work with their universities and sector bodies like the Quality Assurance Agency, for example, to really work on making sure that we can lobby the government to put in legislation to ban these services, from targeting students, from getting students to use their services, and most importantly, we're banning them so they would not put students in a position where they could blackmail them and the student would feel the impact of what they were threatening to do to those students if that information got out. And successfully, we found out a few weeks ago that has been successful. So now SA mills and contract cheating services are now banned and will be banned when the legislation eventually goes through. And so you as students are protected from being able to be approached by them, and you know, in the case of when their services might be used, being the people that they target to blackmail in the future if you have used their services. The other half of this, so now that we've got that win, the other half of this and where the work comes in now is looking at the causes of why students feel that they need to use SA mills and the pressures behind that. And, you know, we at NUS, if you've never encountered us before, fundamentally, we believe that education should be a place where students are able to access it freely in an accessible way and in a liberated way. So it shouldn't be siloed to only a particular type of student, and in a lifelong and democratized way. And so a part of why we see that SA mills are targeting vulnerable students is because students are now in a position where, other than being targeted, students are feeling less confidence in being able to, you know, do their assessments and feel like they have support in adjusting to what assessments are asking them to deliver. And we're also seeing that students, particularly international students, are constantly feeling at risk of not being able to continue in their studies and the threat of having their visa revoked and not being able to continue at the UK universities that they are at, because they don't necessarily feel that they have the support that is taking the pressure away of feeling like they need to achieve certain grades to be able to continue in their studies and, you know, something more informal, please their families and their loved ones back home that have invested all of this time and money into them coming to UK institutions. The final point around this in terms of the causes is that there's just not enough resource at universities, given that there's not enough funding from government, but universities themselves haven't necessarily put in all the resource that students need in order to give that just general academic study skills, assessment support that students have been needing for such a long time. And so it's been a big deal for us that we highlight that, you know, banning those services is one thing, but preventing the causes by supporting students robustly, making sure students aren't being penalized, aren't being put in worrying and pressurizing situations, but most importantly, aren't having to access assessments that are inaccessible for them, especially without the support that they're needing. By putting in that support that they so desperately need. And so right now we are lobbying with you as students to make sure that there's resource put into universities across the sector so that no student will ever be in a position where they're vulnerable in terms of completing assessments, assignments, the work that they have to do at university and all the things that come around that. And so you know, as an overview of what academic integrity is and what has been going on in this area, the biggest priority for us and the big priority that we're seeing across the sector, and I'm glad that we can be unified in this, is how do we support students going forward, especially because the pandemic has highlighted so many important parts of this. How do we support students going forward in making sure that they have the tools they need to engage with university successfully, that they are protected from being punitively affected by using SA mills, and how do we ensure that they're never again put in a position by these services where they are blackmailed, threatened, or put at risk because they're being targeted through many different means. So I hope that's given you a good overview of what the work we've been doing with you and with your universities in the sector around academic integrity is like, what the work is needed to go forward, and then alongside that, how we can work together to make make sure we can continue supporting students in this area. I will say that I do need to leave early, but I do have a bit of time now. If Rabbi, if you feel like there's any questions that you need me to answer, I can answer them now. But hopefully that was good and helpful. And hopefully I didn't speak too fast. And if I did, massive apologies.
I would say, like, as for letting everyone know, Hillary is our national leader, like, who represents our students, like, to, like, in the parliament, sometimes, like, meeting with the parliamentarians. So Hillary has done such a great job, like an extraordinary job, I would say, like, running national level campaigns to making, like, these ASML companies like kind of illegal, like they are going to be illegal soon. So, like, to save our students like you and me, like, all of us, because these SMLs, as Hillary was talking earlier, like, these SMLs companies have been blackmailing our students. So Hillary has done, we all are really thankful to Hillary. I know Hillary have to go, like, she has got so many other commitments, but I would like to say thank you, Hillary, for, like, giving us time. And I would say looking forward to see you, and LSB student wants to see you again soon, maybe in different events. So thank you very much. We'll be in touch with you, and definitely looking forward for that. Before I go to now Liz, Liz, can I see you? Are you here? Yeah, perfect. So thank you very much, Hillary. Lovely to see you. Thank you. Looking forward to see you. Bye. So at this moment, in our second part of our session, you have our head of our university academic integrity team, Liz Newton. So Liz, is now on you. Please take this.
Thank you, Rabi. And I just want to say that was a brilliant session by Hillary, and we're really lucky that she came to talk to us, and she highlighted a lot of the reasons why academics are very concerned about essay mills and why we're so delighted that it is going to be banned. I've got a short presentation which I hope I'll be able to share. Let me just see if I can get this to work. Tell me if it's working. Can you see that, Rabi?
Not at the moment, Liz. Have you done share screen from the top of the...
I have. Right, I'll try again.
Yes, I think we can see now. Perfect, please.
Right, okay, thank you. So I want to talk a little bit about going beyond contract cheating. So obviously contract cheating is a very serious thing, but there are other things that you can do to really ensure the integrity of your work. So it's not just buying an essay. So I'm going to go over some of the reasons why it's important, but I just want to start by saying that I've been doing this for a number of years, and in my experience, it's rarely a willful desire to cheat that is the reason people end up having their work questioned. So there are a lot of reasons that mean people don't necessarily make the best choices, but if you're aware of them, hopefully we can help you understand a bit better. So academic integrity or academic misconduct, what is it? So it comes under a number of things. So plagiarism, that's passing someone else's work off as your own. And so, it's sort of stealing the ideas of someone else without crediting the source. It's perfectly okay to use someone else's words as long as you tell the marker that it's someone else's words by referencing it correctly. One that's less known about is self-plagiarism, and that's submitting the same work for 2 different credits. So you need to be very careful about when you're submitting your work. If you think, well, I did something last year that was very similar, we would expect the quality of the work to improve over that time, but also you can't get this credit twice. So if you self-plagiarize, reference yourself. Collusion is is where 2 people hand in the same material, and that can be for a number of reasons. It's not necessarily because they desire to cheat. It can be because of a confusion over group work, and then there's contract cheating, which we've been talking about, and there's not following the student regulations. So as usual, I sort of repeat myself a little bit. So this is my self-plagiarism sort of cartoon. So this one's saying, oh no, I forgot to do my science fair project and it's due tomorrow. I'll use last year's. Not a good idea. And for collusion, we say there's a very big difference between working collaboratively and collusion. So we encourage you to discuss your learning with your peers. When you talk about the things that we've just told you about, you'll be deepening your understanding. So it's a really, really good thing to do. Talking about theories helps you to understand them. What is bad is sharing your written work with your friends. And quite often when I see cases of collusion, it has genuinely come from a student wanting to help a colleague. So it's come from a good place and it's ended up not being so good. And what I'll say is that if a friend says to you, I'm really struggling with this assignment, can I see what you've done? If you want to be a really good friend, say to them, look, you need to talk to your module leader or the course director or student support. There are lots of places that can support you, but handing your work to another student is probably only going to get both of you into trouble. And we know that if two pieces of coursework contain identical passages, then at least one of them is not original. And Turnitin will only match to the last one that's handed in. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the first one that comes through as clean is the person who wrote the work. So there's a lot of investigation goes on there. Now, sometimes when I see cases of collusion, and believe it or not, this has happened, it's because a student has been working somewhere public like the library. They've just popped for a comfort break or something and they've forgotten to lock the computer, and another student's gone in and stolen that work from the computer and they didn't know about it. So the best thing you can do is to always lock your computer if you leave it, even momentarily. So there are lots of different ways of doing it. So Control-Alt-Delete, or you can do it through the sleep button, but never leave your computer unattended, because you never know who is going to be taking your work. Contract cheating, as Hilary said, is very serious, and we are delighted that the essay mills are going to be criminalised, which means that they will find it much harder to target students. And we know that they have been having a relentless targeting of students. I even found out that one of them was offering a special Valentine's offer, which I thought was very strange. So we know that these essays or these agencies out there offer model writing examples. Don't use them. For the reasons that Hilary said, you know, if you're caught handing in work that you've contracted someone else to do, then the penalties are very serious. And I'd just like to clarify that in terms of contracting out, it doesn't necessarily mean money has changed hands. It can just mean that you've asked someone else to do your work for you. So that still counts as contract cheating. And as I've said, the government are going to make essay mills very illegal. I'm sort of repeating some of the things that Hilary said because I didn't know that she was going to say this, but she was very right to highlight, don't make yourself vulnerable. These people will prey on people when they're at their most vulnerable, and once they have your details, they do have your details. And you know, there are numerous horror stories. So we have heard of people who've been told, you're right, you've bought an essay, you've got to buy one every single term. As Hilary said, they follow people in their careers later on. So you don't want to make yourself vulnerable to people who want to live in this shady world. And in fact, sometimes the contract cheating companies do contact the universities anyway. We have been contacted by companies saying, we wrote this essay for this student. So it's not, if you're having problems, talk to your team. There is someone who will listen to you, your module leader, your personal tutor, your course director, student services. There are lots of people out here who want to help you. Your worst enemy. So to avoid plagiarism, copy and paste. You know, be very, very careful. If that's how you take your notes, make sure you label the file clearly. What happens more often when I meet with students who have been accused of plagiarism, what's happened is they've done their notes from the internet. We all do it. Don't feel that you have to say you write everything by hand. These days, we all think that'll be useful, copy and paste it. But then they come back, you know, some life has happened, and they forget that they hadn't changed the words. They hadn't put it in their own words. And they just sort of pat themselves on the back and say, well, I wrote that well. And then they hand it in and turn it in, highlights it. If this is the way you do your research for your essays or for your assignments, I would suggest that you have two separate files. Have one Word file called Final Assignment and another one called Notes, Not My Own Words. And in that notes one, you can put anything that you've copied and pasted. And then when it comes to your final document, be typing all the time. So make sure that you're not copying and pasting unless it's a particularly long word. For some disciplines, there's very, very long words that you might want to copy and paste. But generally avoid copying and pasting, and then you know that you've put this in your own words. Then the other thing that can cause problems is exams. So we will be going back to on-campus exams, and so we say make sure that you don't have any unauthorized material on you, even if it's by accident. When you go into that room, empty your pockets, make sure that you've not got any notes, because there are consequences of having notes on you in an exam. So just to sort of round off, make sure that when you're doing your work, you put things in your own words. Cite where your evidence comes from, but make sure you're putting it in your own words. And I always say to students, if you want to get the really high marks, then show us that you understand what we've taught you. You know, we need to know that you've met the learning objectives, and the best way to do that is if you can take something quite complex and you can say it simply, then we know you understand it, and we're looking at really high marks then. So don't be fooled into thinking you have to use the sort of language that's always in the papers you're reading. You know, show us you understand what we've taught you, and you'll be doing really, really well. If you use someone else's words, make sure that you reference them properly. And each discipline has different referencing styles, but the library has got many helpful guides on how to reference something you found on the internet, how to reference something that somebody said to you even. Go to the library. And then I've said to be careful when taking notes. You know, make sure that if it's not your own words, then you annotate your notes to make sure that you know it's not. And then I'll say that if life happens and you're pressed for time, if you're finding it all a little bit overwhelming, ask someone for advice. You know, come to us. Anyone will point you in the right direction of who to get help from, but ask your tutor for advice and don't be tempted to take shortcuts. What we want is for you to do your work well, for you to enjoy your studies, for you to have pride in your work. And this is where we want to see you graduating with a good degree at the end of your studies. Hopefully, I think that's it. I don't know if there's any questions, Ravi?
Yes, here is it.
It's very weird presenting because you can't see anything.
That's very true. There haven't actually been any questions specifically about academic integrity that have come up in the chat box. They're mostly other things. So I'm just going to address them, Liz. So bear with me a moment while I just talk about that to everyone. So there's been a few questions about being online learning and costs and things about that. So I just wanted to say, like, this is specifically a webinar about academic integrity. So if we can try to keep questions relevant to what the webinar is about, but also when it comes to prices, course prices, we're not the people to answer that question. I mean, this is the Students' Union that has put on this event, and we're working together with Liz from the university and of course Hilary from the National Union of Students. So to find out more about like course costs and stuff, that's a university question. So if you want to ask those sorts of questions, go directly to the university, or you can email one of the student officers. So Rabi or one of the other student officers can also give you more information about what has happened about course prices over the pandemic. There's been a lot going on in the background, both nationally and locally, I'm sure. So that's just to question that. And also, obviously, the reason why a lot of stuff is online is because we are still in a pandemic, and there are still rising cases of COVID. And so we do need to make sure people are protected. So just wanted to cover that, and also to say if we can stick to questions related to the topic of the webinar, which is academic integrity. Rabi, you've popped up. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, I just would like to say, like, if you have got any kind of, like, as you guys were asking about the university related questions. So, like, so as I said earlier, when I was starting my conversation, like, if you have got something really like, you want to campaign or like you want to make any changes or anything, please do contact us, you sabbatical officers, we are you elected representative. We just come to the Students' Union, just try to find us or maybe email us. We can, like, maybe sit down and we can talk. And if there is a really like a huge amount of students want something, then we can run campaigns on your behalf. So please do contact us. And please, this is the last part is like, you Students' Union advice team will take over now. Please listen carefully to them, because they will talk about what kind of support you can get and also how you can save yourself from those difficult situations.
Rabi, before we do that, there are two people with their hands raised. I'm also not sure if Daniela's here yet to actually do that. So Vlora, you've got your hand raised. Vlora Tahiri, I'm going to take your microphone off mute so that you can ask your question. Okay, Vlora, you should be able to ask your question now. But you just need to unmute your microphone. It is active.
Hello.
Hiya. Hi, Vlora.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, fine.
I was wondering to ask a question regarding, the plagiarism and stuff like that. Sometimes in some definitions, I find it hard to change it in my own words, like let's say blood pressure, heart pumping, through to press the arterial walls and stuff. If I change it, it gives me different definition and the answer is going to be wrong. So it's just, I'm worried about this,
I think that's an excellent question, and I think this is something that should be discussed with the course team. There are certain things that are factual. If you change the words around, you are going to change the meaning. So talk with your course team about what is and isn't acceptable. Generally, definitions, you can't change the meaning of them. So definitely talk to your course team. But yes, blood pressure, if you're trying to describe it, you would only have so many different ways of saying what blood pressure is. Certainly in my discipline, it's the same.
Thank you.
I hope that helps.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for your question, Flora. Okay, next person who had their hand up, we will go to Rosalind. Rosalind, I'm not sure how it would be pronounced. I'm going to allow your mic, so you'll be able to take your mic off mute and ask your question. Rosalind Kumbar.
Hello, good afternoon. It's not really a question. I missed the whole link. So Elizabeth, I'm really sorry. I didn't get anything. I just managed to log in now by some of my colleagues. That's my only issue. I don't know if it's
okay. Rosalind, this is being recorded and it will be available on South Bank Students' Union's YouTube and Facebook channels and pages later. So maybe not later today, but later this week. So you'll be able to watch the whole thing again.
Okay. Will it be on Moodle as well?
Because this is an additional thing.
Yeah, so Jim, so we will try our best. We will talk to your school so that we can make it available also in the Moodle side, and also you might find it in the LSB, but you will definitely going to find it in the Students Union YouTube and the Facebook channel, as Jim said.
Okay.
And we are hoping to put together a Moodle site just for integrity and student support, and then all of the slides and extra support will go in there. And watch this space, we'll let you know when it's up and running.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. And next up we have Helen Nakidziompa. Sorry if I've said that very, very badly. So I'm just going to allow your microphone and you'll be able to take yourself off mute and ask your question, Helen.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. I wanted to ask, in terms of if there is it plagiarism if you have a workbook, but you, let's say, for example, you copy something or a sentence or a phrase and you put it in that workbook and you submit it, but that workbook is used for your self-learning. It's not really marked, it's not really officially marked. Is that count as plagiarism?
If you're using someone else's words and you've not acknowledged whose words they are, then technically it is plagiarism. But for something like a formative piece of work, I would certainly discuss that with the marker, with the module team, to see what they find acceptable and what they find unacceptable. If in doubt, ask, is my mantra.
Okay.
And we are here to help you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your question, Helen. Next up we have Temitope. So I'm just going to allow your mic and then you'll be able to ask your question. So Temitope, what's your question?
Can you hear me, please? Hi.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
I just want to find out, in terms of plagiarism, you know, sometimes when you copy from the internet or when you do your research, you copy from somewhere, there are some places like paraphrasing, for example. If I put it there to change the word, is it part of plagiarism as well?
Paraphrasing is, a lot of people do paraphrasing, but it can be difficult. If you're using something like a thesaurus to change just the odd word, you can really change the meaning. I would suggest that you're better off just trying to think to yourself, what am I trying to say? Write as though you're writing for a very intelligent friend who has no knowledge in the area. What would you have to do to explain to that person? And so then you would be putting things in your own words. I hope that helped.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
Because, you know, sometimes when you do some research and there's lots of information and you struggle to change some things, because, for example, sometimes when I use paraphrasing and I notice the vocabulary is quite big and which I don't understand, so I try to pick those words and change it to the word I think it fits in. Does that help?
But what is always better is if you try and think about, if I was in an exam, how would I be writing this? Because that's where your understanding is coming through.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I did notice a question pop up. Can I just answer it? Someone asked about, is there anything other than Turnitin for plagiarism checking? I didn't say this earlier, but we would like you to always use Turnitin as supplied by the university. We give you formative access, which means you can check your work without it before you submit it properly. One of the dangers of using external websites that offer free plagiarism checks is that quite often people don't read the terms and conditions, and when you tick accept, you're actually saying, yes, you can sell my essay to other people. And then that can become a problem for you when 2 years down the line your essay is handed in again and you suddenly find yourself being written letters to about something that you've done earlier which you didn't realize someone else would have access to. So we say use our formative access, and if you don't have it, then get in touch with someone at the university, because we've asked all staff to make it available. So
Thanks,
I hope that's sort of nice and clear.
Thanks, Liz. We'll just move on. Come back to Liz. Are you able to stay on right till the end?
Of course I can, yes.
We'll move on to the next presenter. So everyone who's got your hand raised, keep them raised for after Daniela's spoken, and then we'll come back to the questions if that's okay with everyone, just because Daniela's just arrived for her due time and we're still all asking questions. So Daniela, if you want to take the floor, and it's all yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to do a presentation about the Students' Union Advice Service. So I just need to get the presentation up and then we can start. So if you just give me a moment. Right, so I hope that everybody can see the presentation. If you can't, please, Jim or Rabbi, please stop me and let me know that you can't see it.
Currently, yeah, it is there. You're fine. Go for it.
Okay, perfect. So my name's Daniela and I am the Advice Manager in the Students' Union, and I'm going to just take you through a brief presentation and explain to you a little bit about who we are and what we do, and the support that we can offer in relation to academic misconduct. So this is a running order of what I'm going to speak about today, and at the end, please ask me please let me know if you've got any questions, but I'm just going to kind of run through the content. So if you could hold questions to the end, that would be great. So the advice service, we are an independent advice service from the university, and we specialise in offering students academic advice and guidance. So we advise on particular things such as extenuating circumstances, academic appeals, complaints, academic misconduct, which is the basis of this presentation, fitness to practice, understanding other LSBU's academic regulations, and also referring and signposting to relevant services within the university or outside of it. So these are all of the things that we can help you with. So how can we actually support you? So what we do is we listen to your concerns. We know that university life is hard and that you might need someone to talk to. So we actually just listen. And we're also aware that a lot of students might not have told anybody else about their issues. So we're very good at listening. We answer your questions. So we answer questions on the university process or any other questions that you might have about your situation, or other people who you might want to talk to. We prepare you for university meetings. So if you've been referred to a university meeting, it could be for academic misconduct or it could be for another process. We will prepare you for that. We'll explain to you what to expect in the meeting, and how you can prepare yourself so that you can answer any questions that the university might ask. We review statements. So if you need to write a statement in relation to a process, maybe such as extenuating circumstances or an academic appeal, we can review that statement before you submit it to the university to make sure that you've included all of the relevant information. Again, we explain university processes and procedures. Some of the university regulations are quite lengthy and can be quite difficult to understand. So in the service, we'll explain to you what they mean, and how you can sort of engage with the procedure or process. And also, we also suggest relevant evidence, that's meant to say, relevant evidence in relation to your process. So if you're pursuing a particular process, we'll advise you on the kind of evidence that will be useful to support your case. So what is academic misconduct? I know you guys have been talking about this for a while now, so I hope that you've got a good understanding. But to reiterate, Academic misconduct is when you get a unfair advantage at an assessment, and this can happen in a number of ways. So this could be copying someone else's work. It could be using academic sources without adequately referencing. It could be cheating during an exam, or it could be contract cheating. I think low-level academic misconduct is considered using sources without referencing. So that generally tends to be the kind of thing that students may make mistakes on earlier in their course. It can happen at any time, but generally earlier in their course. So it's really important to ensure that you are referencing in the correct way, and you're using the correct referencing guidelines for your particular school. So if you're not sure about what those are, then please ask your school. It's really important. And also, academic misconduct could have bigger consequences if you are on a professional course in the School of Health and Social Care. So if you're a student social worker, occupational therapist, student nurse, anything like that, you are bound by professional codes of conduct from the NMC and HCPC. So it's really important that you understand that if you have an allegation of academic misconduct, it is likely to be a lot more serious for you. So what is contract cheating? So contract cheating is when someone else completes your work and submits it as their own. You know, it could be you pay for a service, it could be having a family member or even a friend complete your work for you. So some people think that if they get a friend or a family member to complete their work, then it's not cheating. It's still cheating. You're the only person who should be completing your work. And again, I think going back to what I just said, it's really important that students on professional courses make sure that they understand the importance of academic integrity and completing their own work, because in particular with contract cheating, if you have an allegation of contract cheating and it's found to be proven by the university, your good character and your honesty is called into question, and this very likely could lead you to a fitness to practice process, which ultimately could put your programme at risk. So it's really, really important that you are aware of that. And I just want to reiterate that point, particularly for students on professional courses. You need to really make sure that you're on top of these things and that no sort of cheating happens while you're on the course. So you may have been told this already, but now contract cheating is now considered a criminal offence. You're not meant to buy services, so that is also a criminal offence, and you're not meant to sell them. So this is really, really important. This law has just been implemented, so we don't have any yet examples of what could happen if you are now accused of contract cheating, but we do know that the university have the authority to report students to the police. So, you know, you just don't want to put yourself in that position. And it's just not worth it. It's not worth putting your degree at risk. It's not worth a possible conviction. It's just not worth it. So just don't cheat, don't do it. So I think it's really important to remember how to avoid these situations. So I would say, you know, just starting your assessment early. I think sometimes if we leave things to the last minute, we're under pressure, and we all have busy lives as well. So there, you probably have a load of external pressures. You might have children, you might be caring for people, you might be working alongside your course. And if you leave it to the last minute, cheating might become a lot more tempting, or just committing any sort of academic misconduct, you know, not referencing properly, it might become more tempting. So just start in enough time. Also, take pride in your work. You're here because you really enjoy your subject, and you're here to learn, and you're here to obviously show your academics that you're really engaging with the course content. So research your topic, you know, show them that you really care about your work and that you're learning stuff. So take pride. Also ask for help. If you are struggling If you don't understand the work, or if you're just struggling in general, I think it's really important to talk to your tutor early, but be very specific about what you're struggling with. Is it understanding the brief of the work? Is it maybe you're having difficulties in your personal life, which is making it really difficult to actually just submit anything? Whatever it is, be really specific, and your tutor will be able to help you or direct you to the right person. Also, subject librarians, if you don't know who they are, familiarise yourself with them. Contact the library. They're really good if you aren't really sure how to adequately research sources, or if you're not sure which sources to use, they can explain to you what's available and show you how to use the systems. So at the beginning of the year, I think it's really important to kind of familiarise yourself with the library and how to search for sources and how to identify sources that are not very, academically vigorous. That's important. And also, if you need an extension, ask for one. Don't ask for one the night before when your tutor's probably not logged on. Ask for one in enough time if you need one, or submit an extenuating circumstances form if you just know, what, I just can't do this work. There's always another way. So I think it's really important that you think about your situation and decide the best route. But, academic misconduct is just something you want to avoid at all costs if you can. So yeah, give yourself enough time. So again, how can the SU support you with academic misconduct if you do find yourself in that position, and it can happen? What we would say is that you contact us early. The reason being is that the service is very busy, so we want to make sure that we give you the opportunity to have an appointment and to review the information that the university has sent you. So contact us early. Again, we'll listen to your situation, and we'll also question you. We're here to find out exactly what happened, and it's important for you to understand what's happened before you go into any potential meeting or write a statement. We will explain the academic misconduct procedure to you, so that you understand exactly what you may have done or where you may have gone wrong. And we also support you with writing a statement. So this will be reviewing your statement before you submit it to the university. So there are various ways that the SU can support you. Yeah. So you can find out more information about us on the Students' Union website. We've got academic guides on all of our processes, not just academic misconduct. So I would really advise people to check out our website. And if you would like to talk to us or, book an appointment, you can email us at su.general@lsbsu.org, and we will get back to you. But we're always very happy to talk, if you've got any concerns. So please do get in contact with us. So I wanted to know if anyone's got any questions.
Hello. Am I? Yeah, there I am. There are a lot of questions. There's a lot of hands raised at the moment. Oh, lots of applauding. However, we are very, very close to running out of time. We've only got 4 minutes left. And both Rabbi and I do have other meetings that we have to get to. So we may have to forego questions at the moment, I'm afraid. Someone's asked if your appointments are live in person or virtual, Daniela.
Okay, so they're currently virtual. So they're either a video appointment or we can offer you a telephone appointment.
Thank you very much. What other questions do we have in the chat box? Those of you who've raised your hand, I'm really sorry. We're not actually going to have time to answer your questions at the moment because there are a few other things to go through very quickly. Lots of people popping up just now. Okay, so we are going to have to come to an end, I'm afraid. Liz, have you got the link to the?
I will just quickly look for it. Can I just answer one of the questions someone asked about Turnitin percentage scores?
Please do.
We don't go by Turnitin percentage scores. We go, you know, I have had 80% matches that have been perfectly okay. So it's about what is in the report. It's not just about the number. Let me see if I can find that link for you very, very quickly, because I know I
Thanks.
sent
Yeah, I can't find it either. So thank you all for coming. We have done a questionnaire to ask for feedback for this session. So we're just the link for that.
to find it. I can't
Ravi,
remember.
do you have the link?
Yeah, I think, Liz, you have got a survey also to share with this.
I have, yes. Didn't I? I thought I'd sent you the link. Let me just.
Did you do it by email or by?
I might have done it on the team site.
Okay.
I'll see if I can just get
For
it up.
everyone, we'll share a very quick, just yes and no questions, 5 questions. If you want, like, for example, if you want to see this kind of, like, you know, awareness events in the future or not and stuff like that. So it's a very simple 5-question survey. So please feel like, you know, do the survey so that we can have your feedback and how did you find it, so that we can understand also better and we can improve our, like, you know, sessions and everything.
Right, I'm just getting it now. I'll copy this link and I'll put it into the chat. There you go. It's not very pretty. It's only about 4 questions. It won't take very long at all.
I would like to request everyone, please, just, like, you know, just do the survey. It is really good, like, you know, for us to understand and to, as I said, like, you know, improve the, like, you know, maybe, like, you know, better sessions in the future, and also maybe organize, like, you know, Q&A session in the future for you all, so that once you can come all and ask questions which we couldn't answer. Maybe we really apologize for that, like, you know, because of the like, you know, timelines and everything, like short time we couldn't answer all the questions, but we'll definitely do a Q&A questions and answer sessions soon. So looking forward to that one. Jim?
You're on mute.
Thank you. Sorry. My computer's running really slowly. That is all we have time for. Thank you all for coming. I am going to end the meeting for all. You'll be able to view the recording, as I said, on YouTube and Facebook that the Students' Union have, and we'll try and get it on Moodle as well. But we do have, or we will be getting a Moodle site or a feed just for academic integrity. But for now, thank you very much for coming. Thank you, Liz, for your lovely presentation. Thank you, Daniela, for yours as well, and thanks, Rabi, for organising. And take care, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Have a lovely afternoon. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
You, Jim.
It's not ending.